Well, hey everyone, we're back for another episode, the prelude to Thanksgiving week here. Coming up next week, we've got Meredith Struewing here in the on the hot seat today. Meredith, welcome. I know you said you're a little nervous, but I'm going to try to make you not feel like that.
Jordan, you weren't supposed to tell the people that, so thank you. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I've never really been in the hot seat. I've kind of always been in your position, asking the questions. So this will be fun. This will be fun. Let's dive right in.
I know. I don't really get to see Meredith the analyst or Meredith the in a non-host role. So I'm kind of excited, or anchor. Like you anchor everything. But now I'm driving the ship. You're putting your life in my hands right now. All right.
Right. Which is scary. I never thought I'd hear those words in my life. That Jordan Gould would, be in charge of something. But here we are. It's 2020, people.
Yep.
Anything can happen.
I'm the pilot here, and you're in first class. Okay.
So wow, I get bumped up to first class.
Yeah, you paid good seats. Okay, and I'm not going to bump you out to the cockpit. All right.
That's understandable.
Gotta keep the space, but I'm going to treat you well. So
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we got some good topics today. We got some basketball, college basketball, particularly IU, as their season's starting up at the end of the month. We don't have a schedule yet. Don't know what that is. College basketball is drunk this year. That'll be fun. We'll see. COVID is affecting things left and right. So can't wait. We'll get into that. We're going to talk Little 500. Obviously it's been a while since we've gotten to experience that event on campus with the Little Five. I think the 70th running. I think this would have been.
Yeah.
2020 being canceled, of course. Right. And then we're going to have a little fun with sports movies or films, depending on, I do think there's a difference between a movie and a film. I don't know if I've had this debate with you or not yet, but
no, I absolutely agree with you.
You agree? Okay. All right. Because I didn't want to, all right. So I'm going to save it then, but yes, there is a difference fundamentally, but
absolutely.
Yes. So basketball. Okay. We have a little video of, I think Indiana from Gannon last year is an exhibition nonetheless, but IU looked good in it. So we found some highlights, but anyways, yeah, they're you see their resume here on the bottom of your screen. 20-12 last year, the men's team were, and they were an odds-on, I wouldn't say lock, but as close to it to make the tournament. It really came down to a win and against Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament up in Indy. Weren't you at that game or?
Oh, Jordan, the stories I can tell from that game. I was at that game. I'll make it short, but. Yeah,
I want to hear it. Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay. Cool. Maxwell Glenn, shout out Maxwell Glenn, and I were covering that, and that's just when the whole sports world shut down. So we look at our Twitter feed during the game, and it's like NBA is canceled, all of these cancellations, and so we're like, all right, what's happening? Like, it can't be that big of a deal, but actually it is because NBA. And so we get back to the press room. And there's people sitting in front of us saying, yeah, Fred Hoiberg, was, coughing, and I was right next to him. So then Max and I look at each other and we're like, okay, well, we're right next to you. And so we were, everything was so chaotic. We went and tried to film our stand-ups that's on the court. The ushers were saying, you guys need to get off immediately. It was nuts. We did not make it back home to Bloomington until about 2:30 a.m. And then we had to write all of our, packages. And that's when everything came rushing in of, oh, actually the tournament's canceled. Actually, like the rest of the season's canceled. So it was chaotic. And I feel like everyone knows the position, like where you were when this happened, is that kind of how you felt too?
Oh, that's how I felt. There's a couple of moments like I think about. I mean, one, the Kobe Bryant death. I mean, that happened in the Indiana Maryland game. I think it was January 26th. It was, and I found out about that. I was on CBS. The IU Maryland game was. I wasn't at the game. I was watching on TV, and then they turned it over to a golf tournament right after. And Jim Nantz, the broadcaster for the event, says over the air that like Kobe Bryant, like a plane crashed in the LA area. I'm like, what the heck? Like, really? This happened?
Exactly.
So that's how I found out about that. And it's so, I don't know. I mean, that's the way I found out, not my phone or, I know a lot of people did that were in the arena that day. And then, with you in the basketball tournament up in Indy, Yeah, I mean that had to be. I mean, were they enforcing masks then? I honestly don't remember. Like, was that?
No, they were
Yeah.
not. It was like recommended, and I did see
Recommended.
people, come in with masks, but I mean, as soon as they got to the seats, they would, take them off. But yeah, it's just surreal to like think back to that time and just like everything started like shutting down that day.
I know.
But yeah, would not want to relive it. But it is, a memory stuck deep down. And maybe I'll tell my grandkids one day.
I know. I will say, I mean, this is going to make some oral history, maybe, or like a documentary. Like this is going to be talked about down the road, and as something you were at. I mean, that was one of the final games before everything crashed, like in all sports, like college or pros or whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that was pretty crazy.
What's even weirder is that didn't a team play the next day, but then they like called it at halftime?
Yes, St. John's and Creighton in the Big East tournament. I'm like, what the heck? Like they're playing and they're just the game stopped.
Right. They were like, we'll be fine, you guys.
I'm like, it's fine. I'm like, is it?
No.
I don't know.
Crazy time.
I know, but Indiana, with that win over Nebraska, for whatever it's worth, that was win number 20 on the year, and it seemed like they were odds on, like I said, to make the tournament, and then everything shut down. But now, nothing you can really do about that now. You can only look forward. I know Archie Miller was talking about that at media availability, I think last month. And they bring back, Trace Jackson Davis, one of the top power forwards in the nation this year, arguably the best in the Big Ten at his position. Filling guys around him like Al Durham Sr., Rob Finney at the guard. How about a guy like Christian Lander, who a lot of people have a lot of potential for? So I guess what will Indiana do this year, and do you think they'll make the tournament?
That's a great question. I feel like with the talent that they already have, and the talent they have coming in, they should make the tournament. I think they will. I'm going to say they will. I feel like fans are going to be really happy with how well Christian Lander and TJD mesh together. Lander, has that speed. TJD is down in the paint, the size that they need. So I think they will. I think they need to really, get over the hump that they've experienced, like let's say Purdue, where even if they have the same talent as Purdue, they seem like they can never execute and get that win. So they'll have to really, and they'll have to trim down that turnover rate. I think they can do it though, and I think they will, because I think it's even more they want to so bad because of last year ending so abruptly, and they want to get back and just see what they're capable of, and I think they're capable of a lot.
Something I talked about, Caleb Kaufman was on the podcast last week, and it's something I brought up was that really what's been the issue with Archie Miller coach teams since he's arrived at Indiana, and to me it's been their shooting. Their shooting's been horrendous from 3-point range. Devontae Green was or Al Durham was their best shooter, I think, at 39%, which isn't bad, but it's not great if he's your top guy from behind the perimeter.
Exactly.
And looking forward, I mean, I think Archie Miller, yes, I think Indiana, the athletic department, they probably grant him, we would have made the tournament last year. I'll check that off. But I don't know. I look at Indiana. I think their key to success this year is playing small. I really do. Playing Trace Jackson Davis at the 5 or Brunk, but I don't know. I think Brunk out there, he's a hustle guy, but I don't know he's not going to give you much offensively, in my opinion. Trace Jackson Davis will. But I think if he really wants to take his game to the next level, he's got to start figuring out a jump shot. I mean, the mid-range is good, but in the NBA, I mean, especially now, I mean, obviously that's his goal. And, all these guys from the perimeter, the big guys like him are shooting threes, and that's something we didn't see out of him last year. So I think I'd like to see if he potentially developed that into his arsenal this year. But yeah, I don't know. I think going smaller, having maybe a guy like even a Race Thompson at the 4, Trace Jackson Davis at the 5, I think that's Indiana's best lineup that I could see doing maybe potentially the most damage, and then having a 3-guard lineup in Lander, Finney, and Durham potentially. But I don't know. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I think, Archie Miller, and I'm sure this is in regard to the next question, so I apologize for jumping.
No, jump, leap.
But I think Miller I don't really get his lineups that he puts in. And like you said, with Race Thompson and TJD, I think that would be such a great combination. And for some reason, Miller really used Brunk and TJD last year, which it didn't, go as well as I thought it would. So I think he really needs to find that, like you mentioned, the perimeter shooter. Even though it's really, really early, I think that Trey Galloway can provide that. They just need to mold him into, the IU player that they want him to be. But I think he's good outside of the perimeter. They need that. So I think they should expect less turnovers. They should expect anything under 12 is great for IU. That was like their bar last year. And so then perimeter shooting, obviously.
Yeah. No, under Archie Miller especially, I think that this freshman incoming class in particular, I think this arguably is one of his best, if not his. I think it is his best. I mean, yeah, and that's thinking about he brought in a guy like a 5-star talent in Romeo Langford. He brought in a guy like a 4-star in Trace Jackson Davis. Really should have been a 5-star now. So it's like there's some really talented guys he's brought in, and I think 3 straight years bringing in a Mr. Indiana basketball, and Langford, Trace Jackson Davis, and now Christian Lander, who reclassified. I mean, that's good stuff. Now it's about the results, right? Because that's what you're judged on. That's what you're evaluated on at the end of the day. And I think that with this particular team, I could see them. See, I was talking to Anna before the podcast that I could see Indiana. I don't know. I think there's a little maybe I don't want to say hype, but maybe the expectations might be a little higher than maybe they should, because I don't know. You gotta get out there and you gotta mesh, and especially these freshmen. I mean, they might take a little bit, because I think we might be expecting a lot out of a guy like Lander early on, and I don't know if that's fair. A guy like Trace Jackson to maybe lead the team. Last year, I mean, I wouldn't say he necessarily was made to be that guy, but he was certainly the leading scorer for the team. I think a guy like Devontae Green, who graduated, Justin Smith, who are both gone now. I think those were more the leaders of the team last year. Now, I'd say this is Trace Jackson's team. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But as far as the Big Ten, I could see them. I think their ceiling's a top 3 team in the Big Ten, but I could also see them finishing 7th or 8th. But I'd say anything worse than that could be a disappointment.
It's such a toss-up too. You mentioned like Devontae Green. I know, he graduated, but you would have him, shoot the lights out in one game and he'd be unstoppable, and then he'd be very cold the next. So it's like, I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. I hope they stay consistent. That's one thing with IU that they've never really been able to do, is stay consistent. And so, like you said, with the freshmen that they have coming in, I think it's a great combination. If they can mesh well, they can do it.
That's right. So, yeah, their season looking to start, I believe, November 25th, and they have a virtual Hoosier Hysteria going on. I don't know. I think I get it. Maybe some fans want it, but I don't know. It's not like Hoosier Hysteria is a great event. I don't know. It's just like a patting on the back, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Hoosier Hysteria? Fan, not a fan?
I feel like I am a fan because it's like a family thing, and I've been going since I was little. But I don't know how it's gonna. Right, and I don't know how it's gonna be this year without fans, because it's really for the fans. It's that fan aspect that you have. So by having it virtual, you're not gonna have all the sounds and the screams and everything. It's not gonna be the same, obviously. I'm hoping a lot of people tune in. I think it's good for the players to have that, to make them feel, a sense of normalcy. But I'll be tuning in. I don't know how it's going to go. We'll take it day by day. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's a lot of the times it's for a lot of the recruits as well. I know it's something good to bring in, but now who knows with that. Last year, I was producing the Hoosier Hysteria BTN broadcast we had. And I don't know if you were you in attendance last year at the event? I would assume you were, right?
I was, yes.
Yeah. So do you remember the fire alarms going off?
Oh my
In the middle of the event? So we were in the middle of lineups, and they have all the pyro and great. And all of a sudden, the alarms go off, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I had Austin Render was doing the play-by-play for it, and he was like in my ear. He's like, "Okay, what do I do with it?" I'm like, "Just tell him we got under control, and we'll go to break." So it's like, we're gonna have to step aside for a moment as the fire alarms are going off the building, but don't go anywhere. I beat 10+. I'm like, well, shit, I don't know what to do now.
You were prepared for this.
I'm like, yeah. And honestly, that was who knew that foreshadowed the college basketball season, a season set on fire, ablaze. I mean, honestly.
That's so true. Yes.
I mean, seriously. Honestly, fires in general between Australia, which happened this year, and California.
Exactly.
I don't know. Fire. I don't know. And now it's
we should have seen it coming,
So let's hope. I hope they got the fire extinguishers ready this year, just in
Fingers
case.
crossed.
Hopefully they won't need them. But the other team that's less of a fire sale of recent times has been the women's team. I mean, the women are good, very good. They went 24-8 last year. You see on the bottom of your screen, they beat South Carolina, a team who, by the way, is #1 preseason this year. Only lost one game last year to Indiana at the Paradise Jam, and they, that 24 wins and 13 conference wins for the ladies last year were both program records. So. I mean, what to expect out of Indiana this year?
Just they're going to keep climbing higher and higher. I mean, you have the preseason rankings. You have #1 in the Big Ten, which is huge for them. You have Pappard coming back, who shot like 49% last year, which is insane. And then you have versatile players like Grace Berger, who is so quick. But then you have like Mackenzie Holmes. So a lot of growth. I feel like you will be able to see a lot of growth this year. Pappard will continue that leadership role that she's really always had since coming to IU. And so I think IU fans can expect them to just really rise and take what they have and use it to their ability. I am a huge fan of Pappard. She's just so talented. She got I believe she's nominated for one of the awards preseason, which is huge for her. Is
that Pappard you're talking about?
Pappard, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, let's see. I have it in here. But it was like
the point guard. It was the Nancy Lieberman Award. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think she's just going to continue to thrive, really. And they're going to look to her, and I think they should, because she really showed them last year what she was capable of, the leadership she showed, and just the overall enthusiasm. That's what I love about the team, is that they have so much enthusiasm both on and off the court. You can tell that they spend so much time with each other, and off the court, obviously, but they're so comfortable around each other, and they mesh so well. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it seems like Pappard's going to be in her 9th year of eligibility. I mean, I don't know, and she got another year granted, I think, after this year. She's a senior this year, but because of, I think, winter athletes, since basketball's considered a winter sport, I think they were also granted an extra year, like everyone. So, I mean, she could be back for a legit 7th season, which, I said 9 and I was exaggerating, but wasn't really far off. I mean, honestly. But she's a gamer. She is super competitive. When I watch her play, I mean, she's the energy of the team. And I mean, it really reminds me, I mean, it's kind of crazy, Meredith. I mean, think about how this team they lost just a few seasons ago 2 of their top 5 scoring leaders, all time of the program.
Yeah.
Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill. And then they both leave. And, Ben Duganey transfers as well out, and, she was productive. But really, it's you don't really miss a beat with the team that they put out there right now. And Pappard, you go ahead and get a Brenna Wise, who transferred in a couple seasons back from Pittsburgh, and she was lights out for the Hoosiers. And now she's really their only missing piece this year. She graduated. But yeah, I mean, you look at these key returning players. I mean, Grace Berger, I mean, she's a junior, I believe, this year, so she'll be back for at least another year. Jalen Penn's a senior. She's been around a while from Louisville. Very fond of. Yeah. Mackenzie Holmes, who could see some increased playing time this year. She's a freshman, I think, out of Maine. I think she went to Maine. I don't know too many people from Maine, but Maine.
Right.
Honestly, like I've paid more attention to Maine between this and the election because they were one of the last states to call in, and they're also one of the congressional districts, them in Nebraska, that like split up their electoral votes. But whatever,
so
Maine.
You're gonna pay attention to me now. Maine said. So.
I know. Yeah, them and Nevada, right? Yeah.
Nevada.
Whatever. I should have had you on for the. We talked election last week. Oh,
that's right.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm going to bring you on in 2024, Meredith. All right.
Okay, got
4
it.
years.
Yeah,
Save the date. Mark your calendars.
It's already in there, Jordan.
No, for real. But Alexa Golbe is another name as well.
Yes.
She started last year from Latvia, and kind of an interesting story I didn't know about. But she actually just got back with the team last month, I believe. She's been home in Latvia because she had to go home because of COVID, and it was kind of tough for her to come back given the circumstances. But
yeah,
I heard that it's been kind of a culture shock, but it has been sort of like that coming back because in Latvia they actually have COVID-19 under pretty good control, and here obviously not really,
not really, right?
You can see.
Yeah, I wonder. That is interesting. When you like come back, you're in a place that has had maybe such tight restrictions and have really improved, and then you come to a country that's not like that at all. So that is really interesting because it would be I would feel out of place. I would, and then on top of that, you have to get ready for a basketball season that might not, even have fans, and the schedule's not even out. It's nuts. It's crazy for her.
So quick comparison. So I wouldn't say this is a, foreign country, but it almost is. I was in the middle of central Wisconsin this summer. Okay. Which I'm called a foreign country. That was my joke. Anyways, because there's no one there. And I was working there this summer for like 3 months. And before I got there, the city was called Wisconsin Rapids. There were, I want to say 19 cases in the whole county up
at
that point. I'm like, wow, this really hasn't hit. Obviously, like Indianapolis or wherever you are, it was much bigger, just more populated areas. And anyways, I get there and it just really never struck the community. It never really did. So then coming back after 3 months living there to Bloomington, obviously it's different. It's more enforced. So no, it's definitely depending on where you are. It's definitely even in the country here. I mean, there's just certain parts where no one, not a high densely populated area. So no, it's definitely different. So, but no, the women's team, no, it could be a special year, definitely. So I guess as far as the tournament goes, I mean, I've Indiana media and the polls AP predicted them, I believe, to win the Big Ten, which was the first time ever that Indiana women's basketball has been picked to win the conference. That's pretty nice. They're ranked, I believe, number 16 in the preseason, which is also their highest preseason ranking ever. So obviously the expectations are high for the Hoosiers, rightfully so, I would say. So how deep of a run can they make, Meredith?
I think they can make a really deep run. I think, with the amount of talent they have, and you talked about, I found it interesting as you were talking, you mentioned Cahill and Buss. It's kind of like as soon as, the seniors leave, they really just step into each other's roles. So after Buss and Cahill, it was Wise and Pappard. Now that Wise is gone, it'll probably be Pappard and Berger. And so I think they can use that really to their advantage. I think they can go pretty deep. They have the quickness and athletic ability, obviously, and especially in Pappard, and the shooting. But then they also have, the deepness with Mackenzie Holmes, Alexa Gould, and even, if Danielle Patterson makes the comeback. She was injured last year, but I think those three together, if you have that much, talent down low in the paint, you can really, really be aggressive. Alexa Gould is super aggressive, which I love. I think they can go pretty deep, and I'm excited for them. I think I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say Elite Eight, maybe.
Yeah.
Elite Eight? I don't know. Is that too high, you think?
No,
Final
no.
Four?
I mean, I've seen Final Four. I've seen it. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's easy to make a pick like that and go, hey, am I being biased just because I'm an Indiana fan? But no, I think there's a legitimate argument for them to advance in the second weekend and potentially beyond, maybe even the third weekend. And they have the experience, right? I think that's a lot of times what it comes down to. I mean, think of teams. I mean, like in Oregon, who had like a Sabrina Ionescu, who fantastic, right? The best,
so good,
one of the best women's players of recent time. I'd say her, like in Brianna, the chick from UConn. I'm like Brianna Stewart.
Yeah.
And then Maya Moore. There's been a lot of faces of college basketball, women's hoops like that, and she was one of them. So, and Indiana has, and Allie Patrick, like I said, coming back for her, I think, 6th year of eligibility. Right. I mean, she's been around the game for quite a while.
So much experience.
And and it's just very different from what we were talking about the men's team with, expectations for like a Christian Lander who, is coming in as year one and really could be a senior in high school this year if he didn't reclassify. So, there's a lot of things like that are, I don't know, up for grabs. And I think they really do bode very important as it comes down to March and the tournament time. But we'll keep an eye on the teams. Women, I believe I think their season starts the 25th as well. I think it's the same thing.
Yes. Yep.
So can't wait for that. We'll be following along. You're not on the beat this year, right?
I am not.
You're beatless?
No.
Yeah.
I'm beatless. I, passed my reins down.
Sure.
It was time.
You had a good run. You had a good run.
Right. It was a good run. It was an eventful run.
You and Jack Grossman, dynamic duo.
Exactly.
I know.
Great.
So, all right. So if you're tired of basketball, we'll move on. If you're not, that's okay. We got some Little Five to talk about. I mean, that's something.
Little Five.
That's something we miss. I mean, I hosted a Little Five podcast last year leading up to the race. I was so excited, and then boom, it just doesn't happen. And I'm like, oh,
How
really?
How far did you get into that podcast?
Gosh, I got probably 6, 7 episodes, 7, 8. Okay. So I did it for a month and a half, 2 months. But I'd like to potentially pick up on it again in the spring or it was a lot of fun. You see Cutters right there at the front of the screen. Cutters has won. They won in 18 and 19, I believe. Or was it a three-peat? Has it been a three-peat? Exactly. I think it might be a three-peat.
Actually, it might have been a three-peat.
Might have been a three-peat. We'll get on that.
I believe it was. I think.
Yes, but regardless, Cutters. I mean, there's a reason there's a movie made about them, folks. They're good. They're winning again, and I made a bet with my friend. I don't know. Can you bet on Little Five? Is that
absolutely
legal?
If you can bet on darts, you can bet on Little Five.
I mean, it was kind of under the. It was under the table. Obviously, there's no MGM or things like that. But I was I made a bet with my friend. I'm like, Cutter's gonna win, dude. He's like, nah. I was like, I'll give you the rest of the field. Anyone can win. I was don't even have to pick a team. I'm going with Cutters. He's like, okay, $5. And guess who cried? And then it looked like Bonsai was gonna win. And then they just did an exchange on the final lap. I don't.
Right.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Everyone. It was you could literally hear the crowd collectively gasp. They were like, oh, "What are you doing?" And they were asked about it, after, and they were like, "It was our guy was crashing. He was done. He could not have pedaled another lap." And it was just oh my God, you were so that right there, the exchange, really. But I mean, I wasn't in that position, so I wasn't racing. So, but it was a lot. The crowd was everyone was questioning why they did that.
I know, but it was fun to be in the stands, and I don't know. Usually by the mid-time, I usually have a little bit to drink beforehand, and it also kind of helps. It tends to help a little bit, but it's also pretty hot. It was hot last Little Five, if you remember, that weekend in April. And I'm like, so hydrating is important.
Absolutely, hydrating and sunscreen.
Yeah. So you see, absolutely. I probably never wore enough sunscreen, but that's another story. But you see on the bottom. Yeah, I know. But I mean, you see here Cutters, Bears, Black Key Bulls, Gray Goat. I mean, 3PH, all. I mean, no no fraternities. I mean, it's been dominant. I mean, we've seen a shift, I think, even more so in the last 5 years or so, of just independent teams, like club teams, joining the race and, ending up at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, and you even look at the women's field here from 2019.
Right.
You have DG and AKO there, but I mean, 3 of the top 5 are, again, independent teams. So do you see a shift in how the race has gone, maybe over the history? I mean, it used to be so fraternity and sorority dominated, but now, Greek, yeah. And now it's, I think the race is totally transformed where, I mean, you have teams like Cutters and Black Key Bulls and, even a dorm like Teeter, who's been really good recently on the women's side, recruit. And, so do you see a shift going on?
I absolutely see a shift. More so, obviously, like you said, with the women, but I'm sorry, with the men. My bad, with the men. But the women, yeah, no one expected. It was all the talk I had heard was Delta Gamma, and it was like Teeter just came kind of. I mean, we knew they were good, but they were good. They came out of the kind of around the corner and we were all wondering, well, they could win this. And even ski, I was really impressed with ski as well. But with the men's, there's just not that many fraternities. It's all independent teams, especially, you just hear those names over and over: Cutters, Bears, Gray Goat, Black Key Bulls.
Jet Black, the whole thing.
You just never really hear the fraternities' names as much. Except if you hear about like a feel good story about their team, but not as much as the women are still hanging in there with DG. You have Alpha Chi.
Yep.
So it's more prevalent in the men's that we see those independent teams, and and good for them.
Absolutely. So obviously, with the race getting canceled last year, first time ever in the race's history, and now moving forward into 2021, is the race going to happen? I mean, how should IU and the Little 500, the committee, how should they move forward with this event here, I guess? First off, do you think it's going to happen? And secondly, if you think it will, how should that go about?
I cannot really see them not having it for 2 years in a row. I find that kind of unlikely that they would do that. But I don't think there will be any fans. My prediction is that there won't be any fans. No. The riders will obviously have to do, mandatory testing, before the race, the day of the race, all of that, which is good. They should. But I just don't see them having fans in the stands because you're packed together. I'm just kind of like relaying this to like what I think about like the Indianapolis 500, and how there was no really way for you to spread out those fans. It's nothing up to that scale. That's not what I'm saying, but I just can't find a way that they would safely do that. Unless they only gave, each team specific number, of tickets if they wanted family and friends. But even then, I can see it happening where it's just, broadcast. And they do maybe the thing that they've been doing for the football stadium. Maybe they have like the cardboard cutouts. Maybe they have the live, or like the sound, So yeah. I think it'll go on. Unfortunately, I don't think there will be fans there, which is really unfortunate because that adds so much to it, so much to the event.
It's true. And I know how many of the riders say that is like arguably like the most rewarding part of the training and the year-long grind it is to get to that day or that weekend in April is, seeing the fans, you hear the anthem and then the balloons and the flyover and the whole deal. And it's just, and then the crowd roaring. I mean, there's so much to it that's like, I'm sure it's very special for them. As a fan, it's a exhilarating experience. I mean, it's enjoyable, especially that first lap, the warm up, and then boom, they're off to the races. I mean, it's a lot of fun to see. And yeah, it will be a disappointment should there be no fans. But you're right. I think that's likely to happen. I think with IU having these testing facilities now, they're labs, right? They're in-house testing. I think that's got to come into play here into the little 500. I mean, you see, it's working for the football team here. There hasn't been really any outbreaks with this specific IU team yet. Knock on wood. I mean, early on, back in June or July, I remember there were some COVID scares, but they've been able to manage and get it under control. So I don't know. I mean, but yes, with cycling, there are a lot more counterparts. I mean, with football, there's probably 150 or so players, personnel, maybe even a little more than that, surrounding the team, videographers, the whole thing. But with the little 500, you have you have the 4 riders themselves, in both the men's and women's fields. Then you have your alternates. Then you have a head coach. You might have a mechanic.
Exactly.
And then the numbers start to tally up, and you do that times 7 people times maybe 30 teams or however many it is, then for each field, and then the numbers, then they start to add up a little bit. So I don't know, but I think they have to find a way. I think they'll be able to do it. They'll have to figure out a way that they can get either rapid testing or a way to mass test for everyone involved in the event, all personnel and riders. And I think they'll be able to find a way to get it done. I don't see them canceling it 2 years in a row. And I do think for IU Sports Media's purposes, I think this could be a positive from a negative situation as far as the broadcast of the event goes, because how they've been increasingly, improving on the broadcast each year. I know in the 69th running in 2019 was really a great broadcast on both ends. And I think that's something that could bring in a lot more ratings and reviews, or, people eyeballs on it, because instead of those people being at the event, you might just have alumni watch the event in the past, but now you might have, active, students and all sorts of people watching the event, family members even. I don't know, who knows if family will be allowed in the event of the rider. So I think that could be a positive thing should the broadcast happen, which I think would be great if they can find a way to, I guess, pull that off. So we'll see.
Absolutely. I totally agree. That's a good point, that, you can use this opportunity to really, get that experience of a live broadcast for, the students especially, but also for everyone to tune into, and you still have that aspect of the race, even though it's not, you're not there. But yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. So I guess this ties in a little bit to the last question, but if the Little 500 does happen this year, the 2021 Little 500, how do you think it'll go? I
think there's, with anything with COVID, there's going to be a lot of bumps and hurdles to jump over. I think though, with the amount of planning that they already do in a normal season, I think it can really, it can do well. I think there's going to be some hiccups along the way, but the biggest thing to me is that, like you said, that if they can get like rapid testing, and hopefully by then, I know we all keep saying, like hopefully by then, and here we are still in, November, and but I think the testing is going to make a really big difference. And I think even more so, you'll have a lot of people trying out for teams, and you'll have a lot of people, I think even more, if you do have qualifications, even more teams come to qualifications, because those will be, you'll have seniors, and they'll be like, this is gonna, even if I can't race in front of fans, if that's how it turns out, I'm still want to do this. So I think you're gonna have more teams for qualifications, and I think that as long as you can get like the rapid testing, I think it will go pretty smoothly. I do.
One other point I want to make on this is usually the soccer season is in the fall, but with a lot of the sports aside from football, and I think swim and dive being this semester, soccer actually is getting pushed to the spring. So I'm wondering how that'll work, because in the past, soccer season is coming near an end at this point in the fall semester, and how is that going to operate? How are you going to be able to have the riders and the soccer team practice? And granted, I know they practice on the field next to Jerry Yeagley or Bill Armstrong Stadium, Jerry Yeagley Field, but still, I mean, it's a lot of people in a specific area, and I wonder how that will work and scheduling. I mean, it might be kind of messy, but I mean,
True.
I think that's expected. I think a lot of the athletics will be messy. Everything will be kind of jumbled up together. I mean, you think of wrestling and volleyball, and volleyball season of getting pushed to, I think, January is the start. I was talking to Steve Air a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
So yeah, there's just going to be so many moving parts going on. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull it off if they do.
True.
So, but Little 500. Usually it's the third weekend in April. This year, who knows? But we'll be we'll be following along. I know we both love the race, and we got basketball, we got the Little Five. But this has been such an Indiana podcast.
It really has, like the
basketball, and yeah, I know. Go Hoosiers, right? Go Hoosiers.
No, there you go.
Yeah, no, for real. But now we're gonna take a step away from some sports, like IU sports rather, unless you want to talk about breaking away. But we're going to be talking about sports movies here. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this topic, all right. I came to you. I'm like, Meredith, what do you want to talk about this week? And you said, how about sports movies? I'm like, okay. So guess what we're doing? We're talking sports movies. All right.
Yes.
All right. So I know you've had some time to think about this. Okay. This is very important. This is probably the most important question of the day so far. So don't mess this up. But your top 3 sports movies. All right, right now you're on the hot seat.
All right. So you're right. I have thought about this.
Start from 3.
Okay. I think this is really good at maybe, ruffle some feathers, but here we go. So you said start from 3.
Mm-hmm. Start from 3. Okay. Suspense. I want the suspense.
All right. So 3 is I've been going back and forth between this spot. I feel like I love Miracle. The hockey movie with Kurt Russell. I cry every time. And it just gives me it's just so uplifting. You have that pride in the last couple scenes. So when the Americans win the match. So I'd say that's 3. Number 2, that's
a Disney movie, right?
It is. Yeah.
Miracle? That's what I thought. It was under the Disney classic. Yeah. Miracle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Disney really did well.
Okay. All right.
And then number 2, I'd have to say, and maybe people are going to say, Meredith, that should have been your number 1, but you know what? Number 2 is Hoosiers for me. I love Hoosiers, and even more so because I think it's because the town I'm from, Sunman, is super small town in southeastern Indiana, but the town over from us is called Milan, Indiana, and that's what the Hoosiers movie is based off of. So we have a Hoosiers little museum in Milan.
Wow.
And yeah, they went hard.
I should have seen that coming though. When you said that you've been to every Hoosier hysteria since you were younger, I was like, yeah, that was probably coming, expected. All right, carry on.
Right, true. And then 1, it's always been my favorite is We Are Marshall.
We Are Marshall. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, which is it's kind of depressing. I'm not gonna lie. The beginning is very depressing, but it's incredible acting. It tells a great story. And I watch it. I'm to the point where you have those movies where a scene comes up and you can quote it, line by line. So I'm to that point. Maybe that's is a little crazy, but that's my number 1.
That's a pet peeve of mine when I'm watching a movie and people say the lines as they go along. I'm like, we get it. You've seen this movie 17 times. It's fine.
Okay, note to self, don't watch We Are Marshall with Jordan. Got it, okay?
Yes, yeah. Just let me enjoy the movie, okay? Let me just watch the movie for what it is. That's what
if you say it really quietly under your breath though, or if you just mouth the words.
I mean, yeah, that would be kind of funny. But don't don't disrupt the viewing experience. That's the key.
Okay, all right. Do you have 3 movies?
Of course, I have 3 movies. All right, so I want Anna. I want to have Anna. I want to let Anna have a chance to come in if she'd like to.
Yes,
But
Anna.
Anna, I can go first. Okay, if you want to go for it. Anna, do you want to go first, or do you want me to do it? Up to you.
I can go.
Go for it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
These.
Okay, so I don't have a top 3. I was not ready for me to be on air.
Okay.
But mine are going to be a little different from everyone.
Honorable mentions. That's fine. Just name them. Go ahead. Go.
Mentions.
Nominees. Oscar nominees. Let's hear it.
Space Jam. Okay. You got to get the nostalgia from kids' movies with comedy and sports. You got a legend in there. Plus, again, I watched it so much as a kid. So you got Looney Tunes and you got basketball with a little bit of baseball because
they mesh.
Yes, just such a great one.
I like that.
A little mainstream. You got The Blind Side, always a great movie.
That's a good one. That would be my top 5. Yeah.
42, Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace. I love that.
That's a good one.
I love everything in it, and I have a lot of things tied to it. I made my mom scream on a plane because she watched it when he got hit. Yeah. Should have warned her. And then my last one, I think I have to say I, Tonya. It could just because it's just not a well-known story or just I love the actors in it. But yeah, no, I love those.
I just rewatched I, Tonya a couple days ago, and Margot Robbie does a fantastic job. And also the story is just crazy. But yeah, that's a really good one.
I mean, it's kind of like Karate Kid, isn't it? She basically didn't she injure one of the ice skaters? Kind of like a break your leg moment. That's what I think of.
She says she wasn't a part of it. She says she didn't know it was her ex-husband or boyfriend. I forget which.
Her ex. It was her former bodyguard who her ex-husband hired.
Yes.
Which is even more crazy.
Yeah, and so she got kicked out, and it just ruined her career.
Yeah, you know what, Meredith? It sounds like you might. It sounds like you're thinking about changing up your list after hearing Anna's.
No, I stick my mind.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one too.
No, I do. I stick my mind, but those were really good movies. There's so many good sports movies, though.
I know. All right, well, I'm going to rank mine now. Because I know you guys have been hanging on the edge of your seat. Maybe not.
Right.
Whatever. But number 3, Draft Day. Okay, I don't know if you guys seen Draft Day, but okay, so I'm a Cleveland sports fan, and the movie is about the Browns, okay, or the team, and it's kind of funny because they just can't draft. Naturally, they just always are shit at drafting quarterback. I mean, everyone's seen the jersey meme of all the Browns quarterbacks from the years. Yeah, that's real. So this one, they drafted a quarterback by the name of Bo Callahan, just a nice quarterback name, and he goes on and do great things. And Kevin Costner's in it. Kevin Costner in a sports movie, always great.
Always great.
Field of Dreams. I mean, honestly, Field of Dreams not in my top 3. Honorable mention. I'll say it now. All right, not in my top 3. Don't hate me. But Draft Day number 3. Number 2, Moneyball. Okay. Moneyball is a film, okay? That goes back to my movie film argument. I'd say Moneyball is a film. Now, I took a baseball's history class last spring, and my teacher, we had to read Moneyball for the class, but he made it clear. He's like, do not watch the movie. The movie is dramatized and is nothing like the book. And I'm like, and that class was filled with a bunch of the sports media. Caleb was in the class, Jack and Drew Fry and we're all just looking at each other like, there's nothing wrong with Moneyball. It's fine. Brad Pitt's fine. Jonah Hill's great. Come on. But he despised the movie. So I think just for that, I was like, you know what? I love Moneyball. And every time the scene with the streak when they start just winning all the games, it gives me chills. Okay. So that was number 2. Number 1 is Creed. And okay, I'm a big fan of the Rockies. Okay. I like the Rockies. And I really like Michael B. Jordan. And I thought they did a fantastic job with kind of the sequels to the Rockies. Have you guys seen Creed?
I have not.
It's very good. I like Michael B. Jordan, especially as well. And I thought he did a really good job. But basically, they have some past because Creed's father was Apollo Creed, and his name's Adonis in the movie Adonis Creed. So basically, in his Rocky, like basically killed his father. I believe it was. I believe it was Rocky in the older movie. So it was kind of like I wasn't like an IOU kind of thing, but they had like history, obviously. So Creed was like, "Hey, yo, Rocky, can you help me fight?" So he's like, "Yeah." So he helps them and builds up his.
What was he like? What was he like, Jordan?
I was trying to do Rocky Balboa. Philadelphia.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. But yes, Creed's my favorite sports movie. I've seen it a couple times. I'm like, damn, this is good. Like it's something about it. Like I leave and I'm like, yes. But those are my top three. Kind of nice. We all had different films.
Yeah.
But
none of us overlapped.
But here comes the real like hard journalism hitting question. Okay. So have you seen Cars? I don't know if you're familiar with Cars, Lightning McQueen.
Yes.
Chow? Yeah.
Mater.
Sally.
Sally, yes.
All right. So this is an animated movie, and it's about car racing. But is it a sports movie?
Personally, I believe it's 100% a sports movie.
Really? Okay.
Yes. It has all the aspects of it, plus, like little storyline. But I also think, you have the races. I will say I have not seen any of the sequels, so I'm just speaking on Cars, how I think Cars is a sports movie. But I believe one of the sequels, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of them takes place at the Indianapolis 500, right?
I know there's
I'm thinking Turbo. Aren't I?
Turbo. What is Turbo? Yeah. Turbo is a poor man's Cars.
Isn't that the snail racing movie?
Wait, what did you say, Anna?
Isn't that the snail racing movie?
Yes. It is. Oh my God.
Okay, scratch that. Did not say that. But I still think Cars is a sports movie, and I'm going with that.
What about Herbie Fully Loaded? Is that a sports movie?
I don't think so because Cars, you have that race at the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't there a race in Herbie? Herbie's a race car, isn't he?
Yeah, there's a race in Herbie with Lindsay Lohan as the.
I can't put Lindsay Lohan into a sports movie. I really can't. I feel like if there's more than here's going to be my rebuttal to that. If there's more than one car in. Actually, you know what? No, I don't have any back to put it on. I'm gonna say Cars is a sports movie. Herbie Fully Loaded is not. Why? Don't ask me. It just is.
Well, Anna,
what do you think?
Yeah, Anna.
Me? Okay, so it's a really hard deduction with Cars because the very first part and the very last part is sports, but
True.
Okay, actually, I feel like, yes, it's the feel good, get him out of his selfishness. He has his new training with the old I'm done with sports coach who brings him back and comes back. The sequels are very weird. I've only seen parts of some. It's the World Prix, and the last one's there's all this new stuff and technology in Cars. I'm too old. Am I still with it? But I feel for a story ladder when it comes to sports movies, it's a sports movie. It's just animated and cars are talking.
Okay, so then do you think Herbie Fully Loaded is one? I know. See, it's hard.
There's a lot of different stories going on in that one, though.
Exactly. I don't know. Jordan, what's your take on this? Let's hear from.
Okay. All right. So my take is this, based on criteria. Is a action movie different from a sports movie? Because I would say Cars is action-packed, but would you classify it as a sport? I think there's two different lines there. Okay. A Venn diagram, if there's two circles, they're hitting, they got points in both, but is it hitting right in the middle, in the intersection?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I personally would say, I don't know. It's just the animation, like animated sports movie. I don't know. If they're cars, if they were people, maybe I'd have a more of a time to get behind it. But maybe it's the animation that's tripping me up, like an animated sports.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that's what's good. But action, I would say it's on the border. It's a bubble team. It's a bubble sports movie. All right, like kind of like
bubble
Indiana.
sports movie.
On the bubble. I do have a quick question though.
Absolutely.
What would be this one I didn't have planned. I just thought about. But okay, we've talked about great sports movies, but what's the worst sports movie that you've seen? You're like, this is bad. This one's easy for me. I mean, I can start if you want more time.
Yeah, you start.
Okay. All right. So I was on. I think this was January, way back in January this year. I was with my family. We're scrolling through channels on the TV or Netflix. We're looking for movies, and I'm like, oh, how about The Waterboy? I've never seen The Waterboy. Adam Sandler. And I watched The Waterboy. And I swear to God, I want that hour and a half back of my life. That was the
You will
worst.
never get it back.
No, that was terrible. And the stupid accent, like mama told me. Like I can't do it. I could not get into it. I could not wait until that movie was over. And I like Adam Sandler. Like Happy Gilmore is a good, like that's an enjoyable one. Or like, he's been in a lot of good films. Like what was the recent one on Uncut Gems was great. That's a different role for him.
Uncut Gems was amazing.
But if you told me the same Adam Sandler was in Uncut Gems that was in Waterboy, come on. Waterboy, worst film. One of the worst films I've seen. Terrible.
Okay, then you're not going to like
What are you going to say?
You're not going to like my answer.
What are you going to say?
I was going to say Happy Gilmore.
Oh, no. Happy Gilmore's okay. Happy Gilmore's okay. Like, I think that one's better. But I think Waterboy is bad.
I think Happy Gilmore that's one of those movies where you're just like, I cannot believe I watched this. Happy Gilmore, like the rivalry. I don't find it funny.
Yeah. It's hit or miss comedy with him, honestly. A lot of people. It's very slapstick. It's very slapstick.
Very true. I would have to go with Happy Gilmore. I know that. I mean, that kind of pains you, but.
Nice. So we both picked Adam Sandler movies. How about a trifecta? Yeah. Anna, trifecta right here.
Okay, so I've been told I am not the best at deciding what's bad and good with movies. I've been taught a lot in my younger life, though, that The Waterboy and Happy Gilmore are great movies because my dad loves them. And I just got taught my movies by my dad. But now thinking on it, it's something. It's very, it depends on your comedy. I do have to think that.
It does. That's huge.
Yes. I don't know why I don't even think this is a sports movie, but I can't even think of the name. But it's Will Ferrell as a kid's soccer coach.
Oh my God, Kicking and Screaming?
Yes.
That seems stupid.
I
haven't seen it, but it sounds stupid. Like I could see it being.
I can't believe
I could see that being a disaster.
I not like watching it.
Will Ferrell is also kind of the same way. Like you can either like you love him, you don't like, or you think he's like annoying. Also. So I can see how that. I just find that movie funny. I don't know why, but and it has Mike Ditka in it, and I'm like, yes.
Gosh, well. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of time to kill over quarantine with movies and such. So
very true. You're absolutely right.
I'm glad we are back to real sports. So we're not talking about cars if it's an action movie or a sports debate. But we did this week, and that's okay. Like I'm happy about it.
It's fine.
It's fine. Like it needed to happen. Like it needed to happen. Like
the conversation needed to be had. You're right.
Like we have to tell the stories. We can't let the silence be unheard. So
that's our job as journalists.
That's true. And that was about as hard hitting as those can get. Anyway, Meredith, honestly, like pretty tough to follow up. That was a heck of a podcast. Like a round of applause.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you.
Very
so
good
much
job.
For
any final?
It was so much fun. I was just gonna say, people watching and listening, check out their other podcasts because they do incredible work and. They're super talented, both Jordan and Anna. So check out their work, show them support. Student journalists at the best, right there.
Do you have any plugs? You want to plug anything right now? Anything you're working on?
Any plugs? Ooh,
like anything you got going on?
Does it have to be sports related?
Honestly, anything. Like I mean, movies. Like I mean, yeah, we talk about anything obviously here.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Last hour, hopefully you learned.
I do have a radio show every Thursday on WIUX. We do kind of talk about sports. We have a sports update, but we also play games, play music, and just, you know, it's with me and one of my best friends. So yeah, Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. So
Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. And how can people listen to that?
People can listen by going to the WIUX website, and it's listening on 99.1. So we're not on B-side, we're on 99.1. And it's called Good Day with Nick and Mare on the Air. So
wow. All right. Well, Meredith, thank you so much. All right. Anna, thank you for getting the video together as always. And thanks for putting up with me, I guess, the last hour, because I know I don't know, it could always be a ride. So, really all right, we'll talk to you guys. Thanksgiving's coming up next week, so not sure if we'll have a podcast or not then. I'm going to be enjoying some turkey and cranberry relish. Wait, real quick, rapid fire. Favorite Thanksgiving side? Cranberry relish?
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes, stuffing. Okay, stuffing's a good choice. Mashed potatoes, you can have that in any meal, though. Anyways, I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, it's not just Thanksgiving. Whatever. We'll have that debate another time. But anyways, thank you so much, Meredith. And
thank you guys.
We'll be back with the Take 3 podcast very soon.